Number 1, okay, looks like we're looking for a precise word, just doing a quick vertical scan of the answer choices, which is very helpful and a good technique for the exam. Given these solutions, as well as the many health benefits of the food, the advantages of Greek yogurt outdo the potential drawbacks of its production. Wouldn't be outdo. You'd outdo somebody if you beat them in a race. So that's not it. Defeat, again, it's not a competition. Outperform, again, that would be like a race. You're outperforming somebody. They would outweigh the potential drawbacks. So that's the appropriate word or precise word for that spot. It's you're weighing the pros and the cons, and the pros outweigh. Correct answer for 1 is D. Number 3, quick vertical scan. This looks like it's going to be a possessive and possibly a verb tense type question. Oftentimes there are 2 issues at play on the writing language exam. So if it is improperly introduced into the environment, acid-way runoff can pollute waterways. So if, that's hypothetical. So this is going to be subjunctive mood. I need a could, can be, not a will or definitely be. So has, that's probably not going to be right. Can. So those all are possibilities. Okay. So what is the subject here? It's the runoff, the acid-way runoff that can pollute. So it could have polluted waterways. That would not be the right tense. That would suggest a past, not it can pollute waterways now. So that's not going to be right. Can pollute waterways? That's not going to be right either. It's definitely not possessive waterways. So that's not right. It's going to be can pollute waterways without possession on waterways. The runoff can, and no possession on waterways. A will be the correct answer. Number 4, yogurt manufacturers, food scientists, and government officials are also working together to develop additional solutions. Okay, this should not be a semicolon. That's wrong, because before that's not an independent clause, so no change is wrong. It appears pretty obvious this is a list of 3 or more. Yogurt manufacturers, number 1, food scientists, number 2, comma, and government officials. So comma and government officials, that would be correct. It's not comma and comma, that's wrong. And it's not a colon. This is not a situation where we'd have a colon at all. Okay. So C is the correct answer for number 4. Number 8. This looks like it's going to be a verb tense problem. And I have a potential participle, a future, simple present tense. All right, let's see what's going on here exactly. Nutritionists consider Greek yogurt to be a healthy food. Colon. It is an excellent source of calcium and protein, serves to be a digestive aid, or serves as a digestive aid, comma, and contains, so this is a list of 3 or more. The issue here is probably going to be that we want it to be in parallel structure to be consistent. So it is, verb, an excellent source, serves as a digestive aid, and contains without the it. So we already have the it up front here. I don't need to repeat the it through the list of 3 or more. So contains few calories. And I don't want it to be future tense or anything like that, because each of these is, serves, simple present tense. So contains would be the right answer. It's not the future. It's not a participle. And I definitely don't want to have an it repeated only in one of the elements in my list. C, contains, is the correct answer. Number 9, a quick vertical scan. It looks like a transition word problem. I'm going to have to figure out the relationship between the sentences. So let's take a look. In other words, therefore, for instance, okay. Greek yogurt is slightly lower in sugar and carbohydrates than conventional yogurt is. Blank, because it is more concentrated, Greek yogurt contains slightly more protein per serving. Well, I wouldn't say therefore, because I already said because, so this is not going to be cause and effect. For instance, this is not an example of the previous sentence. It's healthy because it's more concentrated. It contains more protein. That's not really an example of the previous sentence. Kind of related ideas. In other words, or also. In other words would be explaining the previous sentence, sort of clarifying it in simpler terms. That's not what's going on. It looks like it is an additive relationship. First, we have Greek yogurt slightly lower in sugar. Secondly, also, because it is more concentrated, it contains more protein per serving. So I think also is the correct transition here. A will be the right answer for number 9. 10 looks like a precise language. We're going to have to find just the right word that fits here. So the sentence we just said, Greek yogurt contains slightly more protein per serving, thereby helping people stay satiated for longer periods of time. So satiated, fulfilled, complacent, sufficient. Sufficient means you have enough, but it really doesn't apply to eating, or in this case, that's not quite the right word. Complacent, well, you're happy, you're comfortable, but that doesn't mean you're comfortable just because you had more protein. Fulfilled keeps people fulfilled. Well, fulfillment is something bigger relating to your mental state and happiness. That's not what it is. I think it's just people are full, like they ate enough. Satiated would be the right idea. I think the precise word for number 10 is A, satiated. 11, okay? This looks like comma, so. This is going to be a comma run-on type question. Let's take a look. Because consumers reap the nutritional benefits of Greek yogurt and support those who make and sell it. So that's a subordinating conjunction. We have a dependent clause up front. Therefore, I wouldn't say therefore because I already said because, so A is incorrect. Sell it, farmers, that would be a farmers and business should continue finding safe. So I have a dependent clause up front, and then I have an independent clause here. Would I say comma, farmers? Yeah, that looks like it's probably right. Dependent clause up front must be separated by a comma from the independent clause that follows. I would not have a comma so, because that's a comma and our coordinating conjunction, one of our fanboys, which suggests independent clause, and that's not what we have. We have dependent clause up front and then independent clause, so C is not right. And I wouldn't have a colon, I'd have an independent clause before a colon, and again, we have a dependent clause beforehand. And this is not an example or a list or anything like that. B is the correct answer for number 11. This is just dependent clause, comma, independent clause. Number 14. Okay, it looks like, do my quick vertical scan, it looks like a transition word question again. So what's going on here before 14 and after? What's the relationship of ideas? So typically the ice sheet begins to show evidence thawing in late summer. This follows several weeks of higher temperatures. So normally we start thawing in late summer, blank in the summer of 2012. So this appears to be a specific summer. So I'm going to guess this is going to be an example. This probably is correct, for example. For example, in the summer of 2012, virtually the entire Greenland ice sheet underwent thawing at or near its surface by mid-July. Okay, I take that back. It's good to read through the whole thing. What's going on here is a contrast. Normally, it thaws by late summer. Here, it thawed in early summer, July. This is not going to be an example of the previous sentence. This is going to be a contrasting transition. So A is incorrect. Moreover, additive as such, no, it's however. However, in the summer of 2012, we thawed too early in this case. So B is the correct answer for 14. 15. Okay, this looks like some comma rule, independent clause type question. But Jason Box, comma, an associate professor of geology at Ohio State. Now it looks like it's in a positive, which really is essentially the same rule, restrictive versus non-restrictive. But Jason Box, he's the individual. We identified him up front. So anything I say about him next at this point, the appositive, must be separated by commas. So he should be an associate, a professor of geology at Ohio State, comma. So if I pulled that out, but Jason Box believes that another, that would work just fine. So comma before and comma after Ohio State. Comma before and comma after Ohio State. C is the correct answer. B does not have a comma beforehand. A does not have a comma after. And D has a comma before at. We usually don't have commas before prepositions. That is not correct. Correct answer for 15 is C. 16. Okay, I've got semicolons, colons. All right, this looks like, again, it's going to be sort of a combination of independent clauses here. So, but Jason Box, an associate professor of geology at Ohio State, believes that another factor added to the early thaw, the dark snow problem. Okay, this is an example of the other factor of the early thaw, the dark snow problem. So this looks like it's not going to be a semicolon because it's definitely not an independent clause, dependent, not even a clause here afterward. The dark snow problem is the element beforehand that's being described. So 16, thaw, colon will be the right answer. I wouldn't put a semicolon with an and. That's not right. A was not right. We definitely don't want a semicolon. And we don't want a colon with being. That doesn't make any sense. Being the dark snow problem, why would we even put being in there? That's not right. 16, the correct answer is C. Okay, 17, real quick. This looks like it's going to be a kind of a concise language question. I don't know, let's take a look. According to Box, a leading Greenland expert, tundra fires in 2012 from as far away as North America produced great amounts of soot, comma, some of it drifted over Greenland in giant plumes of smoke. Okay, so we've got a problem here. The first part is an independent clause. A leading expert noted that fires produce great amounts of soot, independent clause. It drifted over Greenland in giant plumes of smoke. That's an independent clause. So that cannot be correct. That would be a comma splice. So what if I substituted great amounts of soot? Some soot drifted over Greenland. Again, that would be a comma splice. Delete it. We just say some great amounts of soot, comma, some drifted over. No, again, that would still be a comma splice. I have to have of which with my relative pronoun. My relative pronoun makes that second clause a dependent clause, which I can separate by the comma up front, making this an independent clause, comma, dependent clause at the end. C has to be the correct answer for number 17. 18, fell, falls, will fall. Okay, this looks like a verb tense issue. So again, the fairly long sentence here. According to Box, leading Greenland expert, tundra fires in 2012 as far as away North America produced great amounts of soot, some of which drifted over Greenland, giant plumes of smoke, and then fell as particles onto the ice sheet. Okay, so some drifted over Greenland is my preposition, and fell. So it drifted and fell. Simple past tense. I think that's correct. Some is the actual subject noun here. So some, not will, falls, present, not had fallen. It's not perfect, and it's not future. It drifted and fell. That's the correct answer. A is the right answer for 18. Notice the parallel structure helps as well in identifying the correct answer there. All else equal on the exam, parallelism will be correct. 19, okay. It's there. Okay, this looks like a pronoun, possessive pronoun issue. Scientists have long known that soot particles facilitate melting by darkening snow and ice, limiting its ability to reflect the sun's rays. Okay, so its ability, it owns the ability. I want possession. So it's not going to be T-H-E-R-E. That's not right. It's not the apostrophe S. Pronouns never take apostrophes in the possessive. An apostrophe with a pronoun is always a contraction. So it's either going to be its or their, and I have to figure out what's the antecedent here, and is it singular or plural? So what is it referring back to? That soot particles facilitate melting by darkening ice and snow, limiting its. I think we're referring back to the soot particles, right? Soot particles facilitate melting by darkening snow and ice, limiting their, that is the soot particles, ability to reflect the sun's rays. Yes, that would be correct. D is the right answer for 19. 23. Was worn, promptly wore, soon to get worn. Okay, looks like we have some type of verb or verb tense issue. Let's take a look. The novelty of this comfortable work from home life, however, soon got worn off quickly. Well, that's definitely not right. So no change is incorrect. Was promptly worn off. No, that's passive, and that's not going to be correct. Promptly wore off. Well, why would I say promptly and then also say quickly? That's redundant. So that's not going to be right. I think it's just simply wore. However, wore off. D is the correct answer for 23. 24. Okay, not a lot of punctuation here. Not sure exactly what's going on. Let's take a quick look at the sentence. Within a month, I found myself feeling isolated despite having frequent email and instant messaging contact with my colleagues. Having become frustrated trying to solve difficult problems, comma, so this is a participle dependent clause up front. No colleagues were nearby to share ideas. Well, no. Is it the no colleagues that are becoming frustrated? This is a misplaced modifier. I need to find me, the author, I, whoever here. So it's not going to be the colleagues. It's not going to be the ideas that are becoming frustrated. It's I. I must become frustrated having missed having colleagues nearby to consult. So having become frustrated trying to solve difficult problems, comma, I missed having colleagues nearby to consult. That's the correct answer. 24 is D. 26. Okay, again, this looks like a run-on, comma rules, clause combination question. We've got commas, colons, etc. Let's take a look. The spaces are usually stocked with standard office equipment, independent clause, comma, such as photocopiers, printers, and fax machines, such as in the list of the following things that are examples in the list. So this looks pretty good. A comma before such as and the items in the list. I think A looks pretty good. This might well be correct. Let's hold on to it for a second to check the other. Equipment, comma, such as, colon. No, I wouldn't use the comma, such as, and the colon. That's redundant. Both follow with examples. I don't need to do it twice. Equipment, such as, colon. Again, same idea. I wouldn't use such as there. Partly because that makes the first part, I think, no longer even an independent clause. The spaces are usually stocked with standard office equipment, such as. That would not be an independent clause there. We have to have an independent clause before the colon. That's not correct. Equipment, comma, such as, comma. We don't need a comma after the such as. So yeah, the correct answer here is A. I just simply have such, comma, such as, and the list of items. 27. In these locations, comma, however, comma, the spaces often include small meeting areas. Okay, so if I look at the answers, quick scan, in addition for the, okay, so this is going to be a transition question. In these locations, however, the spaces, are we contrasting the previous sentence that they have a bunch of equipment? No, that's not the right transition idea. In addition to the equipment, the spaces often include small meeting areas and larger rooms for hosting presentations. That looks pretty good. Let's just check the others. For these reasons, the spaces, no, it's not explaining anything. Likewise, no, it's not similar. Likewise is not correct. The correct answer here is in addition to having all this equipment, they have these office rooms and office space. B is the correct answer for 27. You want to be fairly proactive in trying to figure out what the relationship is in the transition idea questions. Okay, 28. Looks like this is going to be a pronoun issue for relative pronouns, who versus whom. Who is a subject pronoun, whom is an object pronoun. How's it being used here? The article goes on to suggest the most valuable resources provided by co-working spaces are actually the people who use them. So people who do this, not people whom. That's an object pronoun. So it's going to be who, and use them, that looks correct. It's multiple people, that's plural. So whom is incorrect. And it wouldn't be who uses. People uses, no, people don't uses, people use. So again, I've got a plural subject for people. I wouldn't have an S on the simple present tense of the verb. Plural subject, I delete the S on the verb, who used. That is the correct answer, D for 30. Okay, 32, quick vertical scan. I see semicolons, commas, no punctuation. Again, this is going to be a right combination of independent or dependent clauses. Over time, I've gotten to know several of my co-working colleagues. Another website developer, graphic designer, freelance writer. Okay, this is an excellent use of colon, right? Who are the colleagues? Well, we're going to give examples of them in the list that follows. So this looks to be correct. Would I put a semicolon there? No, it's not an independent clause after. It's a dependent clause list. So that would not be correct. Colleagues, comma, no, that wouldn't be correct. I wouldn't want to say colleagues and then list everything out. That's not the correct punctuation. Colleagues and no punctuation, that's not correct either. This is a good example of using a colon followed by list. 34. Okay, this looks to be another transition question. So what's the right idea between the sentences? What's the relationship? So beforehand, long viewed by many as a stereotypical useless major, philosophy is now being seen by many students and prospective employers as in fact a very useful and practical major, offering students a host of transferable skills with relevance to the modern workplace. Blank, philosophy is the study of meaning and the values underlying thought and behavior. So, for example, no, this is not an example of the previous sentence. In contrast, definitely not contrasting. Nevertheless, philosophy is a study. No, it's not contrasting in that way either. You have to be careful of contrasting transitions. They're not always exactly the same. Okay? A is going to be the correct answer. It's in broad terms. So what's happening in this sentence, you're telling the reader what the meaning of philosophy study is, exactly what it does. So in broad terms, this is what this philosophy study does, or what it is. 34, the correct answer is A. 36, okay, we've got sort of a verb conjugation issue here. It looks like because philosophy teaching students, no, that's an infinitive, so that doesn't go there. That's a non-finite. We want a finite verb that we want to be able to conjugate. So teaches is probably going to be it. To teach is the infinitive. I don't want the infinitive. That's non-finite. I don't want participle. In teaching, no, that's another participle. The correct answer is teaches. Philosophy teaches students. Correct answer for 36 is B. 38. Okay, another transition word question. So let's read the sentence before and get the right idea. A 1994 study concluded that only 18% of American colleges required at least one philosophy course. I might want to go up a little. What's going on here? Because philosophy teaches students not what to think, but how to think, the age-old discipline offers consistently useful tools for academic and professional achievement. A 1994 study concluded that, so philosophy is a good major, it's useful. A 94 study concluded that only 18% of American colleges required at least one philosophy courses. So what's going on? Colleges really don't have or care, seems perhaps, about philosophy courses. Therefore, between 92 and 96, more than 400, it's not a cause-effect. And by the way, therefore and thus would be similar cause-effect transition ideas, so they're not going to be correct. However, between 92, no, because this is another example showing that there are philosophy courses are not very favored by colleges. Few of them have them, and in this sense, we're cutting back or eliminating the departments. So this is an additive idea to 37. Moreover, that's the right transition word. Correct answer for 38 is C. 40. Okay, we're going to be looking at a verb conjugation issue here. So on the graduate record examination, GRE, for example, students intending to study philosophy in graduate school, blank has scored higher than students, have scored, scores, or scoring. This looks like it's going to be kind of something that happened in the past leading up till now. So I think the perfect tense probably is appropriate, not just simple. It's definitely not going to be a participle. And it sounds right off the bat, it should be have scored. That sounds right to me. Let's just confirm that my subject is plural for they have versus he has for the answer choice A. So what is the subject for has scored or have scored? Students. Students, participle clause, intending to study philosophy in graduate school. That's all a dependent clause between my verb and my subject noun. So students, plural, have scored, not has scored, have scored higher than students in all but 4 other majors. We wouldn't say students scores, that would imply singular as well, so that can't be right either, even if we thought it was somehow simple present tense. 41. This looks like we definitely have a possessive issue here with the different apostrophes. These days, many students majoring in philosophy, so many students majoring in philosophy. There's nothing possessive here, so why would I have an apostrophe? I wouldn't have that. I wouldn't have an apostrophe, so D is wrong as well. So many students majoring, that looks good. C, many students major in philosophy have no intention. No, that's not right. This should not be a main verb conjugation here. It should be the participle, which is modifying students. So that's incorrect. B is the right answer. Many students majoring in philosophy have no intention of becoming philosophers. 44. Okay, it looks like we're going to have an issue of pronouns, which one to use. Perhaps whether it's possessive. Well, it looks like they're all possessive. So because today's students can expect to hold multiple jobs, some of which may not even exist yet, during our lifetime, well, whose lifetime? What's the antecedent to this pronoun, our? It's before the dependent clause. Because today's students expect to hold multiple jobs, well, it's during their lifetime. The jobs don't have a lifetime. So the students' lifetime, sorry. That's there. Because today's students can expect to hold multiple jobs, their lifetime, during their lifetime. D is going to be the correct answer. It's not our, one's, or his, or her. Correct answer for 44 is D.